Can the counseling compact grow your business or flood your zip code with competition? Watch and I will clear it up for you. Hey, I'm Dr. Kate Walker. Welcome to your Tuesday coaching. I'm going to take a second and let's get everybody in. Great, we'll get everybody in here. And I am going to start off today by apologizing for my system. I don't know what happened. I was gone for a week and my PC just decided it didn't like my camera or my microphone anymore. So, I guess they broke up. I broke up with email. I think my camera and my my microphone have broken up with my PC. So there's that. So I will be doing some troubleshooting this week. And I think everybody can hear me. I did a test just to make sure on my end. So I hope everybody can hear me okay. Y'all will let me know, right? If you can't hear me, we're doing a recording. Awesome. I see some thumbs. Thank you guys so much. And remember, today I'm going to talk about the Counseling Compact, but you guys are members of the Step It Up group. So this is about you too. So if you want to ask me questions after I finish my little spiel about the compact, let me get my words right, compact. Yes, please feel free to do so. And you don't have to ask me about the compact. You can ask me about anything. So that's sort of the topic for this month, though, diving into how the compact is going to impact our business positively and possibly negatively. It's just kind of remains to be seen. I'm going to be totally transparent. I'm probably one of the ones who is leaning against it a little bit, but I mean, not completely. I think it's a great thing for accessibility to care. But my job is to show you how it's going to impact your business. So we'll talk about what is the Counseling Compact. We'll talk about how does the Counseling Compact work, and we will talk about the pros and the cons regarding your business. All right. So if you have other questions besides that, as I said, we will answer those as well. I think I've got everybody in. Everybody's got your chat loaded up. I'm going to get my notes handy. All right. So let's start out with what is the Counseling Compact. Well, you know how you have a license. We talk about the difference between a license and a certificate, right? So certificate says you can do something. A license says you have permission to do something, right? So you can have a certificate that says you know how to drive, but only a license gives you permission to drive, right? And so that counseling license that you have is permission to practice. And right now, the way things stand, and you have to get a license in every single state, right? It's not like your driver's license where you can just drive to Tennessee and suddenly you're a driver in Tennessee, right? Those licenses for things like medicine and counseling and other things, they don't transfer like that. So if you aren't licensed in another state, you can't see clients in that state. And you can go to another training where we've talked about what is the definition of counseling across state lines. Remember, in Texas, it's where your clients' feet are, right? So as far as Texas is concerned, counseling happens where your clients' feet are in that moment of services, right? Doesn't matter where they're a resident, they're there on vacation, they're a college student, but they really pay taxes in Texas or however that works. So when we think about the compact, and I'm going to read directly from my notes, the Counseling Compact is an agreement among participating states that allows licensed professional counselors to practice across state lines without obtaining multiple licenses. So more like a driver's license now, right? So it's going to be this thing where I've got my Texas license, and now I can practice in participating states. Now, it's important to know this is a privilege, right? So in Texas, right, this license I have, right, it gives me, so it's also a privilege, right? I'm not going to say a license isn't a privilege because I'm a mom and I've said it 100 times, driving is a privilege, right? But your license in Texas means you have taken the CEs, you have passed the Texas exam, you are under the auspices of BHEC, LPC, LMFT, social work, psychology, whatever member board governs your license. So with the compact, it's a little bit different, right? Because you're not licensed in that state. So as of April, that's today, after April 1st, Texas hasn't joined the counseling compact, but we do have bills that are going before the legislature. It looks good that this will pass this year. And so what we have is, and I'm reading, sorry, let me get it. So if Texas enacts the necessary legislation and joins the compact, licensed professional counselors residing in Texas would be able to practice in other compact member states without needing additional licenses, provided they meet the compact uniform licensure requirements. So what does that mean, right? So in our case, right, in Texas, we have a 60-hour license. And that was enacted a few years ago. Some folks were grandfathered in, right? Because I graduated under a 36-hour license, right? A long time ago. That means I had to pick up hours to become licensed as an LMFT. And I think I'm covered now because I have a PhD, but that idea that there are folks out there, and this could be you, and that's okay, right? If you have a 48-hour license and you were grandfathered in before the 60-hour went into effect, that might affect your ability to be able to sign the agreement with the compact agreeing states. I've been fact checked and corrected. So here's the thing. The state that is part of the counseling compact gets to grandfather in folks who may not have met the criteria. So if you're like me and you never took an NCE and instead took an older version of what was then known as a Texas licensing exam, you're good to go. Good news, right? So that's the one issue. There's also going to be a fee. So let's see. So yes, master's degree, 60 credit hours, passing the NCE. So that's good, right? That's why Texas did this a long time ago, because we knew the compact was coming. I'm not speaking for the board. But adopting the NCE as the state license was part of this future thinking. So like for me, I've never passed an NCE. I've been a counselor so long. I passed the Texas exam back when you took it at the beginning. No, you got all your hours, then you took the licensing exam. Super scary. So clean disciplinary record. And it mentions here, if you were grandfathered in, you might not be eligible. So right off the bat, a lot of folks are going to need to look at what exam they took and how many hours went into their master's degree. So when we think about how the counseling compact works, there's going to be some infrastructure in place. So the counseling compact participating states will have not necessarily a governing body, but more like an infrastructure in place so that they can handle these. Because really, when we have this, state laws still rule. Even if you're compact eligible, you still have to follow the client's state laws on things like mandated reporting, scope of practice. You can't assume your home state's rules apply everywhere. And licensing boards are still learning, right? So the fact that we have this compact and then we're going to have folks from, a different state practicing in Texas, right? And they get in trouble for breaking a Texas rule, right? You could see that there's a little bit of a conundrum there. How's that going to work? So it is on you, just like you need to know the rules of the road in every county in Texas that you drive through, or every state that you drive through. It's incumbent on you to understand the rules in the state where you plan to practice. And so, obviously the next question is telehealth supported? And 100% yes, right? That's what this is for. My example was driving, where you're physically going from state to state. This is virtual, right? So if your client feet are in another compact state, and see, I'm not even using another state as an example in my examples because I don't want people to get confused. You can go and Google which states currently participate in the counseling compact. But if your client's feet are in a state that supports and you the compact, and then you have entered into an agreement because you were eligible for the compact, you still must obey the rules for the state where your client's feet are, and sorry about my poor grammar, where their client's feet are at. Okay, so there are some things, and I came up with what are the top 5 questions people across the US are asking about the counseling compact. So number 1, which states are part of the counseling compact? We've got, as of today, we've got 37 states. So I'm not going to list all of those. Who is eligible to participate in the compact? You must have an active, unencumbered license as an LPC in your home state, and then you meet those criteria as we mentioned. And how does the application process work? Well, it's not fully operational yet, but once it is, you apply for a privilege to practice in other member states through the Compact Commission's website. This involves submitting an application, paying fees, undergoing a background check. Each state may have its own fee and may actually require its own jurisprudence exam, which makes sense, right? Because you want to make sure you know that state's code of ethics and their rules. When will it be fully operational? When will the compact be fully operational? The Counseling Compact Commission is developing the necessary data systems and infrastructure, aiming to begin processing applications by fall 2025. So remember, Texas is legislators only meet every other year. So we are in a legislative year. So if it doesn't pass this year, we've got to wait another 2 years, right? That's what happened last time. This was up for, it was a proposal in 2023, but it did not make it to the voting, or I don't remember exactly what happened, but we had to wait 2 years, right? So it looks good. And if it passes, then in the fall, we should have some sort of an infrastructure in place. So this brings up something that's important, because I get asked a lot, and I'm not the only one, others get asked too, why isn't the board advocating for this compact? Well, this isn't a board thing. I mean, the board can be pro compact. They have, in fact, they have, they've been on committees where they're really trying to understand the compact, obviously, because if it passes, they need to be good at this and get up to speed quickly. But this is a legislative issue. It is up to our Texas legislature to enact this, right? And of course, it's all about portability, is all about access to care. We want to make sure that Texas clients have access to care first and foremost. And then now we've got traveling Texans have access to care. Great. And now we come to the business part, where you guys have, lots of you out there have been, participating in online groups. How can I be a traveler? How can I be a nomad? How can I go all these different places and move your feet to other places, right? But then we've got those of you who are like, no, my feet are going to stay in Texas, and I want to see counselors in other states. Now, that's part of your business plan. You're like, okay, once this compact is enacted, then finally I can see clients in, whatever state that participates. So this is where I'm going to bring up one of my cons that I talk about with folks. We are a very, very populated state. All right, everybody nod your head. Yeah, we knew that. We knew Texas had a lot of people in it, right? Alaska may be the biggest state, but we're big and we are populated, right? So we've got California, we've got New York, those in Texas, right? We're super populated. So imagine if you only needed 300 people this year. If you only needed 300 people in your practice, that's with new intakes, new phone calls. If you're a group practice owner, double that, so 600 people. If you live in Texas, you have access, and do not quote me on this, I'm not looking at population numbers, but let's just say you have access to 10 million people, 7 to 10 million people to get into your practice. Okay? So expanding this and saying that being able to practice in another less populated state is going to help your chances of getting more, and remember our KPIs, more phone calls, more contact, less phone tag, and more booked first appointments, right? Those are our 3 KPIs that we focus on. I think you may be a little bit, I don't know, shooting for the stars there, but not really, right? I mean, I want to be very careful and kind here. I want you to be successful in your KPIs. I want you to have client contact. I want you to have phone calls. I want you to have booked first appointments. And you guys are already so well trained by me and other business coaches to make sure that you are focusing your marketing effort, right? The ideal client, who are they? What do they do? Where do they eat lunch? What do they need? What's their pain point? You know the people in your community or you know the people in your niche, right? You know how to talk to them. You know how to draw them in. You know how to be attractive to them, be the shiny object that catches their attention, and they hit the keyboard and go to you. Imagine now you've got to do this for the whole country, right? Oh, now you've got to know everybody. All right. I'm going to give you another con, right? Kids call me mom the dream killer, right? So it's like, well, there's your dream. I'm going to squish it. These folks are all coming to us, right? So remember, the counseling compact works both ways. It's not that our horizons are opening and we can now practice in other states. They, right? Other participants in the counseling compact may be like, oh my gosh, I was in such a therapist saturated area of fill in the blank name state. I can go to Texas where there are more people, right? How many of you have complained that you are in a therapist saturated area in Texas? Now you're going to have other people, right? They're going to be Googling the zip codes where they can get the highest rate. They're going to be Googling to see which insurance companies pay higher. You know, they pay higher in the suburb of Houston, or do they pay higher in that little town in between San Antonio and Austin? Right? So they're going to be doing their work to see where they can practice. Remember, this is telehealth. So opening the doors with the counseling compact is going to work this way as well, right? And I really want to make sure folks, business owners, big practice owners, solo practice owners, people starting out, people who've been in this a long, long time, understand that while we want the compact to improve access to care, and it will, right? We want that for our clients. We are going to have to up our game when it comes to marketing and making sure that we're doing all the things so that we're standing out in the competition as well. Okay, so think that covers everything I wanted to cover, but let's review. So we talked about what is the counseling compact. We talked about how the counseling compact will work. And then we talked about pros and cons for practicing counseling. Going to see if there's anything else. We talk about workforce portability, especially for military spouses, digital nomads. This absolutely portability means it's going to reduce the friction in maintaining your career if you or your partner is relocating. So I'm going to hit pause and let you guys ask me questions. Want more unfiltered answers to the questions no one else is asking? Click the subscribe button.